Hello, welcome to this special Elite FPL video today. You may be thinking, oh, a minute, Steve, where's the graphics and everything? Well, I'm only deliberately putting on the big webcam, so don't worry. You get to see my pointless team in about 2 seconds. But this video is going to be very, very long. So I'm warning you now, if you can't be bothered to watch the premiere and you just want to skip ahead to the end, I'll just tell you now, Rashford and Fernandes are the best captaincy options. Brilliant. Now the casuals have fucked off, let's stick with the hardcore Elite FPL community. So let's bring the main screen up. There we are, happy days. Going a bit closer. Done. So yeah, this video is going to be the predictions video. The history is back. I forgot to do this actually. All these numbers. It is probably the most research I have done for any game week, apart from obviously the notes that I've done regarding my transfer plans and all this nonsense. Headline news is I have done my -12, I've done it, and ironically the 2 players I got rid of are the only 2 players that have fallen in price, so you could probably work out who I've got rid of, but the question is, who have I brought in? Well, I ain't going to be revealing that, but I am going to be bench boosting, but I have done a -12. There is a very, 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 very small possibility based on everything that I've researched I could do another transfer to do it a -16 and then have 13 double game week players. 13 double game week players. There's a very, very, very small possibility. Very small. Shall I say that again? Very small possibility that I could do a -16 to have 13 double game week players. Just want to say that I was watching a stream last night, and from a fantasy football perspective, and I really enjoyed it. I'm not going to lie, I would never ever watch it every single week, but just for the fact that I had an hour spare, I just enjoyed it for what it was. In fact, I was just dumbbell curling throughout it, to be honest with you. I was just dumbbell curling and tricep extensions with the old 7 kilogram weights down there. So it's the one thing that I'm enjoying about the training actually at the moment. I'll just get on with the fantasy football, mate. What I'm enjoying about my training at the moment is just the fact that because I'm doing bodybuilding training now, hence the let's just move this. I didn't even realise I had this at home. Hence the old it doesn't help when whichever character that is absolutely jacked, and when I'm in the gym I'm like, I don't look like him. Interesting bit of trivia. I bought this on the day that I met Mark Suddens. So, but yeah, I was just watching the stream while I was just getting a pump on, essentially, because like I said, when you're bodybuilding training, you can pretty much train whenever you want. When you're kind of strength training, you've got to conserve as much energy as possible, and you don't want to be training other than in the gym. That's beside the point. So yeah, I watched this particular stream, and like I said, I really enjoyed it for what it was. I'm not going to lie, I think that I don't think it just applies to this specific channel. I think it could apply to a lot of large fantasy football channels. I think there's an agenda. I think that because the individuals that are on these YouTube channels are doing very, very well, and they're saying they're gonna, well, I'm considering doing a -8, I'm considering doing a -12, I may even do a -16. They won't. Talking of history suggests that most content creators have planned well in advance. They know exactly what transfers they're doing, and hence why they do very, very well. Whereas people like myself are absolutely terrible at this game, and when we take hits, they backfire miserably. But some of the things that they were showing up on the screen, because I had it on my big TV over there, I was just thinking, why would they be even considered to be captaincy options? I know this channel has to put this information up, but half the time I'm just looking at it going, get real here. So hence why the only captaincies that I've gone through from a history point of view are, or more specifically, who I think are the best captaincy options this week, who are Rashford, Fernandes and Salah, I reiterate the point, just captain Rashford if you own him, or if you own Fernandes, captain him. If you own both, captain Rashford. Simple as it gets. But yeah, I just looked at it and I thought, well, no one's going to be captaining Maddison, no one's captaining Watkins, no one's captaining Tony. Let's just focus on the main 3 players that most people are going to be captaining. But yeah, overall, like I said, I enjoyed the stream for what it was. I also listen into, like I do on a regular basis, to be fair, FPL Black Box. Like I said, I listened to the first 10-15 minutes, skip the middle bit, and then listen to the last part where it's the predictions, and they had Let's Talk FPL on, and it was I did put a tweet out there and I just said it was really actually nice because I like hearing Andy. I don't watch his content much in fact I don't watch his content full stop, because as you know I don't really consume fantasy football content these days, but when hearing Andy on other podcasts, it's such a breath of fresh air, and I really enjoyed listening him talking with Az, and I did make a point that'd be really cool if not just him and Az were together, but also when Mark Southerns gets his head right, and obviously he's dealing with a lot of work issues at the moment, and I fully empathise with the guy. I'm exactly the same. You know, like me and Jason always make the point that we do get on a regular basis, at least 2 or 3 times a week, we'll get someone saying, why don't you live stream anymore? Reality of the situation is that live stream takes a very, very long time. Me doing videos or Jason doing a video, we get no interruptions. You just chat shit for however long you can be bothered to chat, end the video, and that's it. Whereas when you're live streaming, I know what it's like. You just go on so many different tangents when someone says something in the chat, or you get irked by some muppet that said something so ridiculous that you have to address it. Yeah, live streaming's very difficult, and when you've got very busy lives like myself and Jason, it's a simple case of, well, it's just more easier doing a video. Hence why when Mark Southerns comes out and says, I'm sorry I can't be on Black Box, I know this is the second week that I haven't been on it, but work has taken over and that's what pays the bills. And like I said yesterday on that short video that I did, at the end of the day, we're all in a situation where unless you're a millionaire, you're fucked. As I stated before, you know, I got paid today. Where's all that money gone? Straight to bills. So yeah, I completely empathise with Mark there, and but yeah, so this specific double game week I personally think is huge, but I sadly, based on everything I've written down regarding predictions, based on the history, based on the form, I don't think we're in for a good time, I'm afraid. And we'll get onto that right now. So as you can see up on screen, that is my team now. I am bench boosting. I'm not showing my bench because I don't want a certain individual, Jason, copying. But this is going to be a bench boost team. I have done a -12. And we got Raya in goal, Gabriel, Estepinian, Chilwell, Perraud, Rashford captain, Salah, Saka, Matoma, Watkins, Havertz, and then on the bench we got our 4 players. And what I can say is all 4 of them are double game week players. I can say that for free. For free? Hence why I've got 12 double game week players. So we'll kick off with, and now this is the boring bit where everybody's like, oh, I can't be bothered to listen to this, even though ironically when it comes to predictions on Black Box, it's my favourite bit. It is by far my favourite bit on Black Box when they go, oh yeah, you can't bloody go through that, can you? Oh, I completely forgot about that. Well, that sucks, doesn't it? It's all to the left, isn't it? Can I scroll down really quickly? What if I was to put out that this way? Yes, it works. Hurrah! That's all right. Maybe I could do an Andy and just cover up the players. Jason can do that with his graffiti art, but I can't, I'm afraid. So as we all know, tomorrow we're all kicking off with the big one. And it is the big one. This, for me, is a huge game between Man City and Liverpool. Obviously, there's a lot of talk coming out about Haaland not training this week. Does that mean he doesn't play on Saturday? I don't have the foggiest. I would highly just recommend listening into whatever streamer you listen to, because they always get the up-to-date news, lastminute.com, and you'll find out. Let's get real here. It's usually Andy. In fact, I've even watched or listened into other streamers other than Andy on deadline day, and they've literally said, I'm just going to go over to Andy's channel and just listen into anybody. If anybody, or the other one is, if anybody's watching this stream, can you go into Andy's stream and find out any team news possible? But yeah, this news about Haaland, it does affect my prediction if he's confirmed out. But this game's huge. Man City have to win. We know this. The fact that Man City are at home is a massive plus. Liverpool are absolutely terrible away from home, and that's why I'm personally going with Man City. Again, if Haaland's playing, I think this could be a demolition. Potentially. When Man United lost 7-0 to Liverpool, that was like, where the fuck has that come from? However, if Man City were to win 7-0, it would be, well, Liverpool defensively are terrible. I'm personally going with a 3-1 victory to Man City. The form is saying a 3-1 victory to Man City. The history is giving Liverpool an extra goal, though. The history is going with a 3-2 to Man City. It's the fact that Man City are just so good at home. I just can't see Liverpool getting anything out of this. But Liverpool do like playing Man City. I will say that. Liverpool do like playing Man City. So there is a small possibility it could be a high-scoring draw, 2-2, 3-3. But I think if you're going betting-wise, you want to be pushing towards the Man City win. Then we come on to another double game week team in Leeds, but no one's really, unless you're our man Dylan, who owns Harrison. Well, I'm assuming he still owns Harrison. There are going to be people out there that own Ganotto. I appreciate that. Jason is one of them, but apparently he is only 50% chance of playing. Obviously Jason will have to listen into the team news and whatnot, but certainly there will be the odd person here or there that does own a Leeds asset. And as I look at our man Dylan's team here, the answer is, does he still own a Leeds player? Yes, he does. He does. Now, obviously, I'm stating the blinking obvious. Arsenal at home are a completely different kettle of fish to away from home. What I mean by that is that Arsenal at home essentially don't lose. They've lost one game all season. They've drawn 2. They've won 11. In fact, in the last 6, that loss actually happened in the last 6 games, which was against Man City of all teams. One of the draws also happened in the last 6 against Brentford. Other than that, they just win. They've scored 38 goals at home, which is the second most behind Man City, who have scored 43, but they have conceded 17. I personally don't see Leeds scoring here at all, because Leeds away from home are pretty poor. They don't score many, but they concede a lot. And I personally think that Arsenal are going to comfortably win this 2 or 3-0. I've personally gone with 3-0. But 2-3-0, I think, will be the result here. History's going with 2-1. And the form is suggesting 2-0. So 2 of the 3 of us are predicting a clean sheet for Arsenal. On to another double game week team. Bournemouth up against Fulham. Again, I don't think many people are going to be jumping on Bournemouth. In fact, there's a lot of talk of people bringing in Solanke. Will someone like me put 50p on Solanke to score assist anytime? Yes. Because like I said, when you've got a consensus of people backing/betting on one player to do well for their team in one of the two games, they're always going to come through. And I've said this a billion times regarding double game weeks. If your player blanks in the first game, they're probably going to do all right in the second game. Tony springs to mind in the last double game week, wasn't it? Blanked in the first game, scored in the second. It's quite rare that a player will get an attack and return in both games. I know Matoma did, but it's very rare. However, going back to this Bournemouth-Fulham game, I am not excited by this at all. I'm going 1-1. The history's going 1-1, and the form is suggesting a 1-1 / just in favour of Fulham, 2-1 just. But the fact they've lost Mitrovic, I don't know how much Mitrovic is not being there is going to affect Fulham. I don't have a clue. I don't know what Fulham's results have been when Mitrovic isn't playing. I'm sure someone out there is going, well, Steve, actually they haven't won a single game with Mitrovic in the team. Fair enough. But for me personally, in the fixtures, the last 6 fixtures, they've won 2, drawn 1, lost 3, and they've lost their last 3. In fact, the last 3, they've actually conceded 3 goals in each match. They lost 3-2 to Brentford, 3-0 to Fulham, and 3-1 to Man United in the FA Cup. Now again, how many of those games did Mitrovic play in? Well, he played in all of them. For all I know. In fact, I could easily find out by just going on the transfer page over here, and let's see how many games Mitrovic has actually played for Fulham in the Premier League, because this would be Premier League, over the past several game weeks. And the answer is, once I can bring him up, because obviously he's not going to be playing this week, it is, he's played quite a lot. He just missed game week 25 against Wolves, and he missed against Brighton as well. So he missed against Wolves and Brighton, which they won against Brighton 1-0. They drew against Wolves 1-1. And in the FA Cup against Leeds, where Fulham won 2-0, was Mitrovic playing that day? The answer is, once it loads up here, yes he was. He got an assist. So in the 2 games that Mitrovic was out, they won 1, drawn 1, and then when he came back, they won 2-0. But then since then, they've lost 3. Admittedly, one of them being the FA Cup, and we all know what happened there, ironically with Mitrovic. Point being, though, is that just avoid Bournemouth like the plague. If someone's going out there the way to bring in a Bournemouth player, and they're thinking Solanke's the one, fair enough, but avoid. The big boys, though, now come into play here is Brighton versus Brentford. Now, obviously, a lot of us could potentially have 6 players in this fixture alone. 3 Brighton, 3 Brentford. Now, I've got 5. Buemo, Raya, Estepinian, Matoma, and Steele. So I've got 5. Doesn't look well for a defensive point of view from the history, form and myself's predictions. I think this is going to be a high scoring game personally. I'm going with a 2-2. History, though, unfortunately, is saying 2-0 to Brentford. And the form is suggesting a 2-0 to Brentford. Brighton, at home, unfortunately, aren't that great. Brentford, away from home, just don't lose. So everything is pointing in a direction of a Brentford potential getting something out of this game. I mean, I say that, I'm looking at this, Brighton are actually good at home, but they do lose the odd game. They've won 7, drawn 2, lost 4, scored 22, conceded 11. There is a bit of a pattern though. Lost 1-1, lost 1-1, and now they're up against a Brentford team who don't lose, so let's just put that as a loss. So it'll be lost 1-1, lost 1-1, loss 1-1. Yeah. I personally think this will be a high scoring game. 1-1, 2-2, something like that. I've gone with 2-2. Like I said, history's going 2-0. The form is suggesting 2-0. So maybe, like I said, based on from what I've read all here, Brentford players could be the ones to back rather than Brighton. Because what I've also done as well is I've gone through myself the history and the form, how many goals I'm predicting for each of the double game week teams, and some of them are pretty much level, whereas there are some which are completely way out there, where it's suggesting in some places, where, take Leicester as an example, I'm predicting them to score 2 goals over these 2 fixtures. The form is suggesting Leicester will only score 1. The history though is suggesting 5 as an example. Talking of Leicester, they are away at Crystal Palace. Roy Hodgson, of course, now in charge. Are we going to get a new manager bounce? Probably. End of the day, Crystal Palace are no mugs when it comes to home. They like to draw a lot of games at home. Drawn 5. They've won 4, drawn 5, lost 5. They don't score many goals either. This game has got 1-0 Crystal Palace or 1-1 written all over it. I've personally gone with 1-1. The history's going 1-1. And the form is suggesting, guess what, Bilal? 1-1. Nottingham Forest versus Wolves. As would say, or Mark would say, this is the Garden Centre match. Even though I'll be covering it 3 o'clock on Saturday, make sure you're here. Yeah, Nottingham Forest Wolves. Again, very similar to Crystal Palace Leicester. 1-0 Nottingham Forest. 1-1. I've personally gone with them both to cancel each other out in a 1-1, but honestly, Nottingham Forest to win this 1-0 would not surprise me. The history, though, is actually suggesting Wolves will nick it 1-0. Wolves seem to like to play Nottingham Forest, but the form is suggesting 1-1. Nottingham Forest do like to seem to be involved in quite a few draws on their patch. Chelsea, Aston Villa. Now, a few of us have got Aston Villa and Chelsea assets. I've got 3. Havertz, Chilwell and Watkins. There are some people that have got Aston Villa defenders. Some have gone with potentially Buendia. You've got Kepa in goal. Either way, this is another match which features highly owned double game week players in some shape or form. Now, me personally, I actually see a potential upset here. Chelsea at home aren't great. They don't score many. They don't lose many, but they don't score many either. They've also got a pattern, Harbour Boy and Karma Baby, as Aston Villa fans, you'll be pleased to know there's a bit of a pattern for Chelsea here. Lost 1, drawn, lost 1, drawn, so potentially a loss next. I personally think this is going to be a lot tighter than what people think, but the way Emre likes to play, I expect them to go for it, but I think that Chelsea will be able to just about defend against them and nick the game. I'm going with 2-1 to Chelsea. The history suggesting a high scoring 3-1 to Chelsea, but the form, Karma Baby and Harbour Boy, is suggesting a 2-0 victory to Aston Villa. West Ham, Southampton, obviously people are, there are people out there that are free hitting. there are people out there that are looking at maybe a 1 week punt, a 2 week punt on a West Ham player. And you know what? I don't see any issue with Bowen or Ben Rama. I really do not see any issue with bringing in these two individuals at all. I think from a form standpoint, Ben Rama is the one that you want to be going for from a form point of view. But we know what Bowen can do. We all know what Bowen can do. And the fact that West Ham have got 3 decent fixtures in 2, I think it's worth a punt bringing in a West Ham player, specifically from an attacking point of view. And like I said, it's either going to be Ben Rama or Bowen. Bowen, obviously, he plays a lot of minutes. However, when you look at it all here, when you factor in how many minutes Bowen has played compared to Ben Rama, and the fact that Ben Rama's on penalties, Ben Rama's got 72 points, Bowen 94. It's only a 20-point difference. But I think Bowen has played almost double the amount of time that Ben Rama has. So Bowen has played a total of 2,331 minutes, whereas Ben Rama has only played, scroll down here, 1,420. So yeah, Bowen's nearly got double the amount of minutes, and yet Ben Rama's only 20 points behind. I think both are great shouts. I think they've got 2 decent fixtures where I can see them scoring in both of them. Obviously, this Southampton game is by far the one where you'd like to think that, you know what, this could be the one where they get the goals. And I do think they will. I think that this is the situation with them where I expect them to win, not necessarily comfortably, but I think they'll get through a 1-0, 2-0 victory. The history, though, unfortunately, the history is suggesting a 2-1 victory to Southampton, but the form is suggesting 2-0 to West Ham. So we're both going 2-0, whereas the history is going 2-1 to Southampton. We then move on to Newcastle versus Man United. This fixture, for me, from my personal point of view, and I'm stating the bloody obviously, and you guys playing the score predictor game, I don't know how you're going to be predicting this, but this is probably the hardest game of all to predict. Newcastle, a team that don't lose at home, versus Man United, a team whose form is all over the place away from home. Man United, away from home, played 13, won 6, drawn 2, lost 5. Scored 17, conceded 27. Admittedly, 7 of those was against Liverpool, but it's beside the point. Don't seem to like playing away from home. And like I said, Newcastle, on the other hand, completely different kettle of fish. They love playing at home. Won 7, drawn 5, lost 1. Problem with Newcastle is that, yeah, they're scoring goals a lot at home, but they're not conceding. I'm just sitting on the fence with this game. I'm going 1-1. The history is suggesting 3-1 to Man United, would you believe? But I really would take that with a pinch of salt, that one. The form is also going 1-1. Maybe Man United to nick it, but really 1-1, 0-0, something like that in that game. Everton-Tottenham. Tottenham are in complete disarray at the moment, whereas Everton seem to be trying at least to build a fortress. Dice is trying to build a fortress at Goodison Park. Forgot the name then. From my own personal standpoint, I think, because it's my classic line from me, I think that because Everton can't score, but Tottenham are crap defensively, I think Spurs have got enough quality to get through this 2-1. Their away form is, again, hit or miss. Everton, on the other hand, at home, they've been nicking literally 1-0, 1-0, 1-0. If it ended 1-0 Everton, I would not be surprised. I personally am putting it in favour of Tottenham, though. I'm going to go 2-1 to Tottenham, but this game is horrendous. 1-0 either way, 2-1, something like that. But Everton can't score. So I can't see them scoring any more than one goal, personally. The history is actually suggesting a 2-1 victory to Everton. Everton seem to like playing Tottenham. Whereas the form suggesting 1-0 to Tottenham. That's one of the few games which doesn't feature a double game week team. However, we move on to Tuesday evening, where this is the big one. Bournemouth-Brighton. Bournemouth, solid at home. However, they're up against a Brighton team who like to score goals away from home. That's why I'm going with a simple 2-1 victory to 2-0, 2-1 to Brighton. History, though, is doing the opposite way round. It's saying 2-1 to Bournemouth. The form, though, is going with a very high scoring 2-2. Maybe even a 3-1 to Brighton. Either way, Brighton are scoring goals in this game. Leeds, Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest are terrible at home. Leeds are pretty solid at home. 1-0 Leeds, 2-0 Leeds. I've gone 2-0 myself. So there we are, our man Dylan. You could be reaping the rewards with Harrison. And like I say, I think that if you've missed out on the first game in this double game week, we could be reaping the rewards in the second for certain teams. I'm going 2-0. The history's saying 1-1, but the form is saying 2-1 to Leeds. Leicester, Aston Villa. I'm going with Aston Villa to win 2-1 because Aston Villa are very good away from home, whereas Leicester are terrible at home. History, though, Leicester do like to play Aston Villa, I'm afraid. It's going 4-1 to Leicester. Whereas the form is suggesting 2-0 to Aston Villa. Then we got a big game in the sense of the two teams that are involved, but in the grand scheme of things, this is a nothing game. Two teams fighting for 10th. The fact that Liverpool are so attacking and they've got a better quality of, like Tottenham really, they've got a better quality of player against Everton. That's why I think Tottenham edge it. I think it's the same with Liverpool. Because in my opinion, they've got a better quality of player. I think they beat Chelsea here 2-1. However, if you look at the history and you look at the form, it is not in Liverpool's favour at all. In fact, there's a lot of draws, a lot of 0-0s, and that's why the history's going 0-0. And the form is suggesting a 1-0. Chelsea seem to like playing Liverpool. A bit like Liverpool seem to like playing Man City. Chelsea seem to like playing Liverpool. So expect a low scoring one there. Man United, Brentford, again, the fact that it's Old Trafford puts this so far in Man United's favour. I'm going with I expect Brentford to score. They've got enough ammunition there to get something, and Man United seem to be susceptible to conceding. So I'm going with Man United to nick it. I think, 2-1. The history is suggesting 3-1, and the form is suggesting either a 2-1, maybe a 2-0, maybe get a clean sheet, maybe a 1-1. Brentford seem to, when it comes to Brentford away from home, they either win 2-0 or they lose 2-0. It's almost like they are always involved in games away from home, which neither team. Where both teams don't score. So if you are doing both teams to score, put no, essentially, in this. And then finally, West Ham, Newcastle. It's live on Sky. I mean, I think it's in the capital. Newcastle will be up for the game. I personally just think these two cancel each other out in a dire 1-1. I'm going 1-1 myself. We've got another agreements here again. 1-1, form 1-1, history 1-1. So essentially, I've now written down how many goals each of these teams are going to be scoring. So Liverpool, I'm saying 3, the history's saying 2, the form is saying 1. Leeds, 2-2-2. Bournemouth, I'm saying 2, history's saying 3, the form is saying 3. Brighton, 4 goals, history 1, form 2. Brentford, it's a clean sweep, it's a hat-trick, it's 3-3-3. Leicester, it's 2 for me, history suggesting 5, but remember one of the games it's thinking is going to be a high-scoring win for Leicester. And then the form suggesting 1. Chelsea, I'm predicting 3, the history's predicting 3, the form though is suggesting 1. Aston Villa, 3 goals from me, 2 from the history and 4 from the form. West Ham, 3 from me, 2 from the history, 3 from the form. Newcastle, a clean sweep again, 2-2-2. Then Man United is a bit all over the place again. I think looking at the history, it's a bit skewed again because it's kind of based on, ironically, history further down the line rather than kind of current. And I'm saying 3, history's saying 6, but the form is also saying 3. So looking at this basic data here, you're kind of looking at either Man United, Aston Villa, Brentford, and ironically, Bournemouth. Man United, Aston Villa, Brentford and Bournemouth are the teams that look like, from myself, history and form, where we're kind of in a similar agreement and who are going to be scoring the most goals of similar agreements. So moving on to captaincy, this is where it gets very, very interesting. So not only have I gone with the history, where in these particular individual cases, Rashford, Fernandes and Salah have played against their respective opponents, I've then also done what they've done away from home this season, what they've done at home this season, because obviously Man United are home and away, whereas Salah has got 2 away fixtures. Comes up with interesting reading, but there is one standout captaincy. Like I said, I've already told you who that captaincy is Rashford, but we'll go into the figures now. So, the history for Rashford against, who are they playing again? Newcastle and Brentford, of course. Rashford, it's not much. So against these 2 opponents, he's had 5 starts, 2 substitute appearances, 4 goals, 2 assists. Fernandes, 9 starts, 4 goals, 4 assists. So Rashford is only 2 assists behind, despite the fact that he's only started 5 games, which is 4 less than Fernandes. Salah, though, I know Cy Bellamy's thinking of doing it. And is it EMI on Discord? He's thinking of doing it as well. Salah captaincy. Well, the history, it's going to prick your ears up. Across these 12 games versus Chelsea and Man City, Salah has started 11 and made 1 substitute appearance. In that time, he's got 6 goals and 3 assists. So based on the history, Salah's the best captaincy option. However, we then look at this season and the amount of away goals, assists, and then home form for Rashford and Fernandes. So Salah, away from home this season, has played 13 games, scored 5, assisted 2. Very good. Compared to these 2, Rashford, all the same. All of them have played 13 games. So Rashford, 3 goals, 1 assist in those 13 games. Fernandes, 2 goals, 3 assists. But this is when it turns. Rashford at home is just a freak. You thought Salah away from home and his history was very good. Rashford at home this season has got 11 goals and 3 assists, and it's 13 games again. Fernandes, on the other hand, 3 goals, 3 assists. In total, total. So this is across the history and this season. Salah, 24 away games. 24 games total. 13 of them specifically being away this season. He's got 11 goals, 5 assists. Fernandes, in 35 games... Sorry. Yeah. Fernandes against Newcastle and Brentford, and including all the away fixtures and home fixtures, he's played 35 times and 1 substitute appearance. 11 goals, 9 assists. So actually, if Rashford was injured and you had a choice between Salah and Fernandes, it is extremely tight. But you would go in favour of Salah because he's actually played in total across the history and away games. As a percentage, he's got the most returns. However, Rashford, though, absolutely batters them both. 31 appearances, 2 substitute appearances, 18 goals, 6 assists. Now remember, 11 of those 18 goals have come at home, and half of those assists, so 3, have been at home. And the game at home is against a team in which I'm predicting Man United to score 2, the history's predicting 3, the form is predicting 2. So we're kind of basing I'm certainly saying that my captaincy is pretty much based on Rashford's form this year at home. These 3 are clearly the outstanding options. Look, I'm sure someone's screaming going, yeah, but what about Tony and Watkins and Maddison and Bowen? Fuck off. You're not going to captain them. It's either going to be Rashford, Fernandes, and at a push Salah. But most people are going to be captaining Rashford. Yes, there are going to be people that are thinking Brighton. Unfortunately, there's not enough data for the likes of Matoma, as an example. And I'd be here all day, basically looking through every single potential outcome of what people are looking at to captain. So I've just gone with the 3 simple ones. And yeah, Rashford the standout. Salah, if you believe that Liverpool can get some goals against Man City, and not only that but Chelsea, I don't see any issue with it at all. Fernandes is another one, and I think that the reality of the situation is that you are going to be basically wanting these 3 players in your team if you can get them in. If you can get them in, you're laughing. If you can get them in your team, you're laughing. And I think that there are going to be some people out there that have all 3. From my personal perspective, I've had Rashford captain the whole time. I'm leaving it on Rashford. We move on. We move on, Cage Paps. But looking at all this data, and do you know what? I probably will put a few pennies. I'm certainly going to be doing my fantasy football bets. That's a definite. Like I said, it's just 50p bets on score and assisters. That's it. So I'm certainly going to be backing the more popular choices. Like I said, the likes of Fernandes, Maddison, Bowen, Rashford. Well, basically, as I always do, I always back the players which most people are bringing in. That's what I always do. Always the same. What are the options again? So, from my personal perspective, I'm happy going into this double game week. I'm personally excited for it. I'm personally thinking that it could be quite high scoring because it is the biggest double game week that we're having. Okay, the matches aren't exactly perfect. But hey, when you've got an opportunity like I have right now to play bench boost, and like we discussed yesterday, there are many people on the YouTube chat league, the members league, the rivals league, that all have a bench boost and will all be playing it this week. Most people in your various mini leagues, I'm telling you now, the majority of the top 10 in your mini leagues, unless your name's Jason or no weak foot, you're going to be playing your bench boost this game week. But the question is, how many people are taking hits? Now, I've already seen Bilal, a member of our community, he's taken a -8. That's already one person. You may be thinking, yeah, but that's just one person of 11 million. You're right. I think the majority of hardcore players and the majority of people that have planned well, you know, if I'll just go to the members league alone, we look at the likes of, once it decides to load up, you look at Harry, FPL Tips, Luke Jones, Matthew Zaishi, John Harris, Vigard, Ayush, Marius, MT, Natasha. They've all pretty much, I know one of them hasn't got their bench boost, admittedly. So of the top 10 in the members league, 2 of them don't have a bench boost. But they've all got 10, 11 minimum double game week players. You know, you look at the YouTube chat league as an example, in the top 10, I mean, it's all the same faces, really. We've got No Week for Matthew Zaishi, Seb Long, Jovan, Michael Swedin, John Harris, Ayush, Jordan, FPL Maestro, David Foster, and Harbour Boy. Majority of them have all got their bench boosts and have got a minimum of 10 players for this double game week, but they've probably got 11, and they're thinking of doing a -4 to maybe getting 12 to do that bench boost. And I personally think it's worth it. Personally, yeah, look at the rivals league in the top 10. Luke Jones is top. You then have Capkin, Matthew Zaishi, Joe Nicholson, Matthias, Vince Chapman, Jovan, John Harris, Sultan Saeed, Nasu. Again, a lot of these teams have got similar players and have all got 10 to 11 and are considering doing potentially a -4. For these guys that are set up really well for the double game week, I always use as an example Dread FPL as a simple example of a team. In fact, fuck you, Dread. Do you know what? Let's at least put Harbour Boy's team up on screen. At least he's top of the moderator league. So Harbour Boy I classify as a relatively safe individual. He doesn't really push the boundaries when it comes to making decisions regarding his fantasy football team. He consumes a lot of content, and I would argue that it may sway his thought processes. He's looking at doing one transfer, maybe 2 for a -4. When you look at Harbour Boy's team here, up on screen, you've got Kepper in goal. That's one double game week player, and this is going to be all numbers again. You've got Kepper in goal, Trippier, Chilwell, Botman. That's 4. Estepinian, that's 5. Maddison 6. Watkins 7. Havertz 8. Matoma 9. Rashford 10. De Gea 11. So he's got 11 double game weeks already right now. Does he need to do any transfers? No. Not really. And if I just show you a substitute bench just for you to get a visual. Nah. So he's got 11 double game week players now. Does he really need to sell Odegaard or Saka or Gabriel for a double game week player? For someone that's doing very well at the game, and if I'll do the Simpsons reference, the answer is 9. He doesn't need to do anything. Just hit the bench boost, Captain Rashford, done. But there will be people out there that are going to be wanting to go, I want to get rid of all my single, or at least 2 of my single game week players to bring in so I can have 12, maybe 13. There's no need. No, you're not going to get rid of Kane. It's a waste of time. Odegaard, maybe. I mean, I read on a thing on Twitter where they said that actually since Trossard is now playing, Odegaard is a bit more deeper. Fair enough. But certainly, if you're Harbour Boy, and most people have got very, very similar players to Harbour Boy, maybe the odd difference here or there, depending on what combination you've got, like, for instance, Harbour Boy having De Gea. Yeah, slightly different to the norm, but it's basically De Gea versus Shaw for some people. But that team's fine for this double game week. Absolutely fine. I wouldn't be touching that with a barge pole. I would just leave it, and this is the point. People like me that have taken the minus 12, I'm 12 points down now. 12 points down on my rivals, which means in turn that in the rivalry with Jason, he is now going to be, he's 72 points clear of me now. And I drop down below, so Blonde now overtakes me. I'm now 10 points, officially right now, I'm 10 points behind Blonde, who in Blonde's case, if I look at her team here, she has, a Ward could be an issue, so Trippier, Chilwell, Badiashile, Jensen, Matoma, Rashford, Watkins, McAllister, Robertson, De Gea, 10 double game week players, and I'm going to assume she's going to get rid of Ward for Steele and potentially bring in another double game week player for a -4, which in turn means that she, like I said, she can wildcard, but I think she can bench boost, but there's a chance she can be wildcarding, but I don't think she will do, the kind of player she is. So I expect Blonde to be bench boosting this game week with that team. Just swap Ward out for Steele, and then that would be it. That'd be it. Got a perfectly good team for this double game week. I just think it's people like that in my boat where I'm happy to get rid of shite. The players that I've got rid of, I personally believe I've upgraded. Apart from one, I personally believe I've upgraded. And like I keep saying, I could be proven completely wrong, it completely backfires, and I'm fucked for the next few game weeks. But looking at my plan and the way everything's gone, or should go, I think I'll do okay. I think I'll do okay in the next few weeks. So, yeah, like I said, I'm excited for this specific game week. I think it could be a lot of fun. I really think that this game week could potentially... Could it be a over 100 pointer? It should do. Because even if you do the basic maths here, 11 times 4 is what? That's 44. So for the majority of us that aren't having to do transfers but have got 11 players, you've already got 44 points, because I would argue most of these players are going to play twice. That's 44 points guaranteed, and then you've got to factor in how many of these players are then going to bring in clean sheets, attacking returns. We could be bench boosters, this is. If you've got 12, 13, and in some extreme cases 15 double game week players, and you've gone the right way, potentially you could be getting 150 points. Potentially. But unfortunately, this is football, isn't it? At the end of the day, and no one can predict how football goes. Anyway, On that note, really do appreciate you guys watching this on the premiere. As ever, if you are completely brand new around here and you enjoy the work that me and Jason do, by all means, if you want to hit the subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button. If you want to support us in other means, you can become a member if you want. It's $1.99 a month. Obviously, hit the like button. And yeah, we will see you when we see you. But for definite, 100% Saturday 3 o'clock, I'll be covering those specific fixtures. Cheers all. See you later.